The vastness of space had long ceased to amaze Captain Damon Kyrie. After 15 years navigating the outer reaches of colonized space, the infinite blackness dotted with distant stars had become a familiar backdrop to his increasingly troubled existence. He stood on the observation deck of the Solar Vanguard, hands clasped behind his back, watching the slow drift of cosmic dust against the viewport. "Captain," Lieutenant Marin's voice crackled through the comm system. "Sector scan complete. No immediate threats detected." "Acknowledged," Kyrie replied, his deep voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen too much. The Solar Vanguard, once a prosperous trade vessel, now carried the last remnants of a colony devastated by war. 273 souls, all that remained after the Vectrian Empire had swept through their settlement on Talos 4. Not a military strike, just collateral damage in the Empire's endless expansion. He touched the silver pendant at his neck, the only remnant of his wife and daughter. 3 years had passed since that day, but time had done little to dull the pain. Now, his only purpose was to guide these survivors to safety, away from the endless conflicts that plagued this quadrant. "Captain," Marin's voice interrupted his thoughts again, this time with a different tone. "We're picking up an anomalous signal at coordinates 227, Mark 43. It's faint, but it's definitely not natural." Kyrie straightened. "Define not natural." "It's pulsing at irregular intervals. Almost like," Marin hesitated, "almost like a distress call, but unlike any standard frequency I've ever seen." "How far?" "Just under half a light hour. We could adjust course without significant fuel expenditure." Kyrie considered their situation. Fuel reserves were at 62%, adequate but not abundant. Food supplies were more concerning, carefully rationed to last another 6 weeks. Every detour risked those precious resources. "Put on speakers," he ordered. The bridge filled with a strange, haunting sound, a series of pulses that seemed to vibrate at an almost painful frequency, then drop to near silence, only to rise again in an eerie pattern. "It's been repeating like this for the past 17 minutes, Marin explained. "Sensor analysis suggests it's emanating from a small metallic structure, possibly a derelict escape pod or research module." Something about the signal tugged at Kyrie's consciousness. It didn't match any known distress pattern, yet the irregularity itself spoke of desperation, an improvised cry into the void. "Plot an intercept course," he said finally, "but keep us at safe distance initially. Prepare a scout team." Officer Alara Voss, the ship's security chief, stepped forward. "Captain, with all due respect, we can't afford detours for every unusual signal. Our priority is the safety of these refugees." "I'm well aware of our priorities, Officer Voss," Kyrie replied, his voice steady but firm. "But I won't ignore a potential distress call. We're not so desperate that we've abandoned basic humanity." He turned to address the bridge crew. "Lieutenant Marin, you'll join the scout team. Take Technician Royce and Medical Officer Sadi. Minimal equipment. We're looking, not staying." As preparations began, Kyrie returned his gaze to the endless expanse beyond the viewport. The Vectrian Empire's influence stretched across this sector, their distinctive triangular ships feared throughout colonized space. If this signal was related to Vectrian activity, investigating could put everyone at risk. Yet something compelled him forward. Perhaps it was the memory of how his own cries for help had gone unanswered as he watched his world burn. Or perhaps it was simply that after so much death, the possibility of saving even one life seemed worth any risk. 2 hours later, Kyrie stood in the launch bay as the scout team made final preparations. The small craft, barely large enough for 4 people and basic equipment, had been designed for short reconnaissance missions. "We'll maintain constant communication," Marin assured him, securing his environment suit. "First sign of trouble, we pull back." Dr. Nadira Sadi checked her medical kit one final time. Her dark eyes met Kyrie's with quiet understanding. As the ship's primary physician, she knew better than anyone the toll their escape had taken. Whatever's out there has been broadcasting for hours. If it's a survivor, they may need immediate medical attention. "Proceed with caution," Kyrie reminded them. Scan thoroughly before approaching. I want visual confirmation before anyone leaves the scout ship. The launch sequence initiated, and Kyrie watched the small vessel depart through the atmospheric barrier. On the command deck, he tracked their trajectory on the main display as they approached the source of the mysterious signal. Scout 1 to Vanguard. Marin's voice came through the comm. Approaching target. Visual. Confirmation. It appears to be some kind of containment module. Cylindrical structure, approximately 3 meters in diameter, 6 meters long. No visible markings or identifiable origin. Life signs? Kyrie asked. A pause. Inconclusive. The structure is heavily shielded. We're picking up faint energy signatures, but nothing definitive. Proceed with Level 2 approach protocols. External scan only. Minutes passed in tense silence as the scout ship circled the mysterious object. Finally, Marin's voice returned, now tinged with unmistakable shock. Captain, we found a viewport on the far side. There's someone inside. Appears humanoid, restrained within some kind of containment field or cage. The subject appears severely malnourished and possibly injured. Dr. Sadi's voice cut in. Captain, I can't confirm. Female presenting humanoid. Non-human species I don't recognize. She's alive but in obvious distress. Her clothing is in tatters, and I can see evidence of injuries even from this distance. Kyrie's jaw tightened. Any sign of who put her there? Negative, Marin replied. The module appears to be designed solely for containment. There are markings on the interior walls. Wait. His voice dropped. Captain, I recognize one of the symbols. It's Vecrean. A cold weight settled in Kyrie's stomach. The Vecrean Empire was known for many things: technological advancement, military might, ruthless expansion, but their treatment of non-Vecrean species was perhaps their most notorious attribute. Especially those species with unique biological traits the Empire could exploit. Can you dock with the module? Kyrie asked. Affirmative. There's what appears to be an emergency access point. We can attempt to breach and extract. Kyrie hesitated. Every instinct told him to retreat, to protect his people from further Vecrean attention. Yet the image of a beaten, caged being abandoned to die alone in space overrode his caution. Proceed with extraction, he ordered, but be prepared for immediate evacuation. If this is a trap, I want you out of there instantly. The next 20 minutes were excruciating as the team worked to access the module. When they finally breached the outer door, Dr. Sadi was the first to enter, medical scanner already active. She's unconscious but alive, she reported. Pulse is weak but steady. The restraints appear to be some kind of energy-based system. Royce is working to deactivate it. Any indication of tracking devices or security systems? Kyrie pressed. Nothing obvious, Marin answered. But the entire module is disturbing. There are monitoring devices everywhere. It looks less like a prison and more like a laboratory. Finally, Technician Royce managed to deactivate the containment field. As it flickered and died, Sadi's urgent voice came through. She's collapsing. I need to stabilize her before transport. Make it quick, Kyrie ordered, already calculating the risks of extended exposure. Lieutenant Marin, check the module systems. I want to know who left her there and why. As Dr. Sadi worked to stabilize their unexpected guest, Marin accessed what appeared to be a control console. Captain, I'm downloading what data I can, but most systems appear to have been deliberately wiped. Wait, there's something embedded in the wall here. The camera feed shifted to show a symbol etched into the metal wall, a triangular insignia with a distinctive curved line through its center. The mark of Vecrean military intelligence. Get what you can and get out, Kyrie ordered, his voice hardening. Priority is extracting the survivors safely. Within minutes, the team had transferred the unconscious alien to a medical stretcher and were returning to the scout ship. As they detached from the module, Marin reported one final discovery. Captain, based on the power reserves, this module was designed to maintain life support for approximately 3 more days before complete failure. Whoever left her here intended for her to die once the experiment or interrogation was complete. Kyrie's hands clenched into fists. Set course for return. Maximum speed. As the scout ship docked, Kyrie met them in the medical bay. Dr. Sadi was already moving efficiently around her new patient, attaching monitoring devices and administering emergency treatment. Status. Kyrie asked, approaching the examination table. Stable, for now, Sadi replied without looking up. But she's severely malnourished and dehydrated. Evidence of recent trauma, particularly around her wrists, ankles, and neck, consistent with prolonged restraint. There are also numerous injection sites along her arms and torso. Kyrie finally got his first clear look at their rescued passenger. She was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin had a faint iridescent quality, almost luminescent under certain angles of light, with a pale, silvery blue tone. From her temples down her neck, and presumably beyond, though the medical gown now covered most of her body. Her hair, matted and tangled, seemed to shimmer between deep blue and violet, even in its neglected state. Species? He asked. Sadi shook her head. Unknown. Her basic physiology is similar enough to humanoid standard that our treatments should be effective, but there are significant differences in her cellular structure. Most notably, her cells appear to contain some kind of bioluminescent properties I've never encountered before. Security concerns? She poses no immediate threat, Sadi said firmly. She's severely weakened and will remain sedated until we can properly assess her condition. However, she hesitated. Go on. Her brain activity is unusual, even unconscious. She's exhibiting patterns I've never seen before. Almost as if what, doctor? As if her neural pathways are designed for something beyond standard communication. Sadi looked troubled. Captain, I think the Vecrians were experimenting on her for a reason. Whatever she is, she's special. Kyrie studied the alien woman's face. Despite her obvious inhuman features, there was something profoundly vulnerable in her expression, even unconscious. Keep her under observation, he ordered. I want to know the moment she regains consciousness. As he turned to leave, Officer Voss was waiting by the door, her expression tense. Captain, we need to talk. They stepped into the corridor, and Voss wasted no time. This is a serious security risk. We have no idea who she is, what capabilities she might possess, or who might be looking for her. The Vecrian Empire doesn't just abandon valuable test subjects. We couldn't leave her to die, Voss. With all due respect, sir, your first duty is to the people already aboard this ship. We're running on limited supplies, headed for neutral territory that may or may not grant us asylum. Adding an unknown alien, one clearly valuable to the Vecrians, puts everyone at risk. Kyrie knew she wasn't wrong. The rational decision would have been to leave the module untouched, to slip away without leaving a trace of their presence. But that path led to becoming something he couldn't recognize in the mirror. She stays, he said firmly. We'll take appropriate security precautions, but I won't jettison a torture victim back into space. That's final, Officer Voss. Voss's expression remained disapproving, but she nodded stiffly. Yes, Captain. I'll increase security protocols shipwide and post guards at medical. When Kyrie returned to the bridge, Lieutenant Marin was waiting with preliminary findings from the module's data systems. Most records were purged, but we retrieved fragments, he explained, bringing up a display. The module was apparently part of a larger research station designated Facility 17. It was ejected during some kind of emergency evacuation approximately 10 days ago. Evacuation? What happened to the main facility? Unknown. But based on command logs, it appears there was some kind of breach or attack. The last entry mentions containment failure and priority assets secured. Marin highlighted another section of data. Here's what's interesting. They didn't just abandon her. This module was specifically programmed to maintain minimal life support while transmitting a locator signal on a restricted Vecrian frequency. They were planning to come back for her, Kyrie realized. Exactly. The transmitter must have malfunctioned, broadcasting on a wider spectrum than intended. That's the only reason we detected it. Any identification of who or what she is? Marin hesitated. Only a designation. Subject Ori 7. There's a reference to something called the Alari Project, but no further details. Kyrie frowned. Ori, could that be her species? Possibly. I've cross-referenced with our database, but there's no match for any known Ori species. Marin looked troubled. Captain, one more thing. The module was designed with a failsafe. If rescue hadn't come within 3 days, it would have administered a lethal injection, then sterilized all organic material inside. They wanted to ensure no one else got their hands on her, Kyrie said grimly. Or whatever information she carries. Should we alter course? Marin asked. The neutral outpost at Tari's V is still our best option, but we'll need to pass through a heavily monitored sector to reach it. Kyrie considered their options. Changing course would mean additional weeks of travel, straining their already limited resources. But continuing on their planned route now carried additional risks. Maintain course for now, he decided, but prepare contingency routes. And Lieutenant, this information stays between us, Dr. Sadi, and Officer Voss for now. The refugees have enough to worry about. As Marin nodded and returned to his station, Kyrie found himself drawn back to the medical bay. Standing outside the observation window, he watched Dr. Sadi work methodically, checking readings and adjusting treatments. The alien woman, subject Ori 7, or whatever her real name might be, lay motionless, connected to various monitoring devices. What secrets did she hold that made the Vekrians willing to go to such lengths? And how many others like her had not been fortunate enough to have their distress calls answered? He placed his hand against the cold glass, a silent promise to the unconscious figure beyond. Whatever storm they had just sailed into, he would see her safely through it. 18 hours later, Kyrie was reviewing supply allocations when the call came for medical. Captain, Dr. Sadi's voice was urgent. She's waking up. When Kyrie arrived, Officer Voss was already there, hand resting near her sidearm as Dr. Sadi monitored the patient's vital signs. The alien woman's eyes were open, startlingly vibrant, with irises that shifted between deep violet and electric blue, seeming to pulse with an inner light. Her reaction to consciousness was immediate and violent. She jerked upright, a strangled cry escaping her throat as she scrambled backward against the wall, pulling monitoring leads free in her panic. Easy. Dr. Sadi raised her hands in a calming gesture. You're safe. We're not going to hurt you. The alien woman's gaze darted frantically between them, her chest heaving with rapid breaths. When Officer Voss shifted position, the woman flinched violently, her arms coming up in a defensive posture. Officer Voss, step back, Kyrie ordered quietly. He moved forward slowly, keeping his hands visible. My name is Damon Kyrie. You're aboard my ship, the Solar Vanguard. We found you in a containment module and brought you here for medical treatment. The woman stared at him, uncomprehending or unwilling to respond. Up close, Kyrie could see that what he had initially taken for simple ridges along her skin were actually intricate patterns that seemed to pulse faintly with bioluminescence, currently flaring brighter with her distress. Can you understand me? He asked, keeping his voice gentle. No response, but her eyes remained fixed on him, evaluating. Dr. Sadi approached slowly with a handheld translator. I've been monitoring her brain patterns. They suggest a potential for telepathic communication, but also normal language processing centers. She activated the device, which cycled through standard greeting protocols in 20 common languages. None elicited recognition until a phrase in ancient Centaurian. At those words, the woman's luminescent patterns flickered, and her expression changed subtly. Try variations on Centaurian dialects, Kyrie suggested. As Dr. Sadi adjusted the translator, the alien woman's attention shifted to a water container on a nearby tray. Her throat worked painfully, and she made a small, desperate gesture. She's thirsty, Kyrie realized, reaching for the container. He approached carefully, offering it to her. After a moment's hesitation, she took it with trembling hands and drank desperately, water spilling down her chin in her haste. Slowly, Dr. Sadi cautioned, but made no move to interrupt. When she had drained the container, the alien lowered it and, to everyone's surprise, spoke. Her voice was raspy from disuse, but the words were clear in an accented but understandable standard English. Where am I? Kyrie exchanged a surprised glance with Sadi before answering. You're on my ship, the Solar Vanguard. We're currently in the Cygnus sector, heading toward neutral territory. The woman's luminescent patterns pulsed more intensely. Vectrians, none aboard, Kyrie assured her. We rescued you from a Vectrian containment module that had been abandoned in space. A visible shudder ran through her. They will come for me. Why? Who are you? She hesitated, eyes darting between them as if assessing trustworthiness. Finally, she placed a hand on her chest. I am Ria, of the Ori people. The Ori, Kyrie repeated. I'm not familiar with your species. Few are. Fewer now. Her expression darkened. Vectrians saw to that. Dr. Sadi stepped forward. Ria, I'm Dr. Nadira Sadi. I've been treating your injuries. You were severely dehydrated and malnourished, with numerous contusions and evidence of experimentation. Can you tell us what happened to you? Ria's luminescent patterns dimmed, as if she were drawing into herself. They took me, last of my settlement. Wanted information about the Ori biological systems, about our connection. Connection to what? Officer Voss asked sharply. Ria flinched at her tone, but answered. To the energy fields, the currents between stars, what you might call bioelectrical communication. She raised a hand, and for a brief moment, the luminescent patterns across her skin brightened, forming complex, shifting designs. Remarkable, Dr. Sadi breathed. Your species can manipulate bioelectrical fields. All Ori can sense them. Some like me can channel them, communicate through them. Ria lowered her hand, suddenly looking exhausted. Is why Vectrians hunt us. Want to use ability. Weaponize it. Kyrie noticed her struggling to keep her eyes open. That's enough questions for now. You need rest. Captain, Officer Voss protested. We need more information about what we're dealing with. And we'll get it when she's stronger, he countered firmly. Dr. Sadi, ensure she gets whatever nutrition and care she needs. As they stepped outside the medical bay, Voss didn't bother hiding her concern. Captain, if what she says is true, we're harboring potentially the last member of a species with abilities the Vectrians consider valuable enough to commit genocide for. We need to consider our options. Our options? Kyrie's voice hardened. Are you suggesting we hand her over? Leave her at the nearest outpost? She's a refugee, Officer Voss, just like everyone else on this ship. I'm suggesting we need to understand the risk. If the Vectrians track that module, or her, to us, we won't stand a chance. Before Kyrie could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Lieutenant Marin's voice came urgently over the comm system. Captain to the bridge. Long-range sensors have detected a vessel on intercept course. Vectrian configuration. Kyrie's blood ran cold. How did they find us so quickly? He sprinted to the bridge, Voss close behind. The main display showed a sleek, predatory vessel approaching at high speed. Analysis, Kyrie demanded. Vectrian patrol cruiser, Harrow class, Marin reported. Heavily armed. They're on a direct intercept course. Estimated contact in 47 minutes. Could they have tracked us from the module? Unlikely. Marin shook his head. We left no evidence of our presence. But, he hesitated. What is it, Lieutenant? Sir, what if they're not tracking the module? What if they're tracking her? Kyrie's mind raced through the implications. Dr. Sadi, he called over the comm, I need you to scan our guest immediately for any tracking devices or implants. Minutes later, Sadi's grim confirmation came through. Captain, preliminary scans indicate a small implant at the base of her skull. It appears to be transmitting some kind of signal. Can you remove it? Not safely without more analysis. It's integrated with her neural tissue. Removal would require precision surgery with proper preparation. Kyrie turned to his navigation officer. Options for evasion? Limited, sir. There's a dense asteroid field approximately 20 minutes from our position. We could attempt to hide there, but navigating it would be extremely dangerous. And if we stand and fight? Lieutenant Marin's expression was answer enough. The Vanguard was designed as a colony ship, sir. Our weapon systems are defensive at best. Against a Harrow-class cruiser, we wouldn't last 5 minutes, Kyrie finished grimly. Prepare for emergency maneuvers. Set course for the asteroid field. As the crew rushed to execute his orders, Kyrie returned to medical. Rhea was sitting upright now, her luminescent patterns pulsing rapidly in obvious distress. "They're coming," she said before he could speak. "I can feel them searching." "There's an implant in your brain," he told her directly. "It's broadcasting a signal." She nodded, one hand moving to the back of her neck. "They called it a neural leash. Keeps me from fully accessing my abilities. Lets them track me across vast distances. Can it be disabled without surgery?" Rhea hesitated. "There is a way, but it requires strength I don't have yet." "We don't have much time," Kyrie pressed. "That Vectrian cruiser will reach us in less than an hour." Her luminescent patterns flared. "You should leave me. Jettison me in escape pod. Save yourselves." "That's not going to happen," Kyrie said firmly. "Your ship, your people, all will die because of me." "We're not abandoning you to torture and death," Kyrie insisted. He looked to Dr. Sadi. "What would it take to give her enough strength for whatever she needs to do?" Sadi considered. "A concentrated nutrient solution might help, along with stimulants. But it would be extremely taxing on her system in her current state." "Do it," Kyrie ordered. "Captain," Officer Voss interjected from the doorway. "We need to consider all options. If we can't remove or disable the implant, we're not surrendering her, and we're not throwing her out an airlock." Kyrie cut her off. "Prepare the ship for evasive maneuvers and possible combat." As Voss reluctantly departed, Dr. Sadi prepared a complex mixture of nutrients and stimulants. "This will provide temporary energy," she explained to Rhea, "but the strain on your system will be significant." Rhea nodded in understanding. "Better than capture." As Sadi administered the solution, Kyrie leaned closer to Rhea. "What will you do?" "Channel bioelectric energy. Create surge through implant. May disable it." Her eyes met his. "May also kill me. Is there any way I can help?" A flicker of surprise crossed her features. Then, hesitantly, she extended her hand toward him. "Physical contact can draw strength, if willing." Without hesitation, Kyrie took her hand. Her skin was cooler than human standard, with a slight texture from the luminescent patterns that now began to pulse more rapidly at the contact. "Others too," she said. "More connections, more strength." Dr. Sadi immediately placed her hand on Rhea's shoulder. "I'm here." Kyrie activated his comm. "Lieutenant Marin, report to medical immediately." Minutes later, Marin joined them, placing his hand on Rhea's other arm without question once the situation was explained. "Vectrian vessel now 30 minutes from intercept," he reported quietly. "We're on course for the asteroid field, but they're gaining." Rhea closed her eyes, her breathing becoming deeper and more controlled. The luminescent patterns across her visible skin began to pulse in synchronized waves, growing brighter with each cycle. "What we give freely strengthens," she murmured. "What is taken weakens." The patterns accelerated their pulsing, and Kyrie felt an unusual sensation where his skin contacted hers. A gentle vibration, almost like a mild electrical current, but not unpleasant. The sensation intensified gradually, spreading up his arm. Dr. Sadi monitored Rhea's vital signs with her free hand. Heart rate elevating. Neural activity spiking across all measured frequencies. The luminescence was now bright enough to cast shadows in the medical bay, pulsing in complex patterns that seemed to flow between Rhea and each person touching her. Kyrie felt a strange connection forming. Not mind-reading, but a sense of presence, of shared purpose flowing between them. Suddenly, Rhea gasped, her back arching as the patterns flared blindingly bright. A visible surge of energy traveled up her neck and into the base of her skull. For one terrible moment, her entire body went rigid, her face frozen in a silent scream. Then she collapsed, the luminescence fading to a dim glow. Vital signs dropping. Dr. Sadi called, reaching for emergency equipment. Before she could act, Rhea's eyes fluttered open. "Done," she whispered weakly. Link. Broken. Dr. Sadi quickly confirmed with a scan. The implant appears to be non-functional now. She looked at Kyrie. But the effort has severely depleted her already compromised system. Will she recover? With proper care, yes. But she needs rest immediately. Kyrie squeezed Ria's hand once before releasing it. You've given us a chance. Now rest. Back on the bridge, Kyrie found Officer Voss coordinating defensive preparations. Status of the Vecchian vessel? Still on intercept course, she reported. No change in their approach vector. Kyrie frowned. If the implant is disabled, why are they still following the same course? Lieutenant Marin looked up from his console. Standard pursuit tactics. Even if they lost the direct signal, they know our last position and trajectory. Or the implant is still partially functioning, Voss suggested darkly. We continue for the asteroid field, Kyrie decided. Maximum speed. Over the next 20 minutes, tension mounted as the Vecchian cruiser steadily gained on them. As they approached the asteroid field, a chaotic tangle of rocky bodies ranging from car size to small moons, Kyrie made a final decision. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're entering the field at full speed. It was a desperate gambit. The Solar Vanguard was a colony ship designed for steady, stable travel, not the kind of rapid maneuvering required to navigate an asteroid field. But it was their only hope of losing their pursuer. Vecchian vessel is hailing us, Marin reported. Kyrie nodded. On screen, the display flickered to life, revealing a Vecchian officer in a crisp black uniform adorned with silver insignia. His skin was the characteristic pale gray of his species, with pronounced ridges along his hairless skull. Unidentified vessel, the Vecchian stated coldly. This is Commander Vex of the Imperial cruiser Inexorable. You are harboring stolen Vecchian property. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Kyrie stepped forward. This is Captain Damon Kyrie of the Solar Vanguard. We are a civilian refugee transport on a registered flight path to neutral territory. We have stolen nothing. Our sensors indicate you are in possession of biological asset Ori 7, the legal property of the Vecchian Empire, through right of conquest. Surrender the asset immediately or face destruction. There are no assets aboard this vessel, Kyrie replied, his voice hardening. Only people, and we don't recognize your right to possess any sentient being. The Vecchian's expression didn't change, but his voice took on a dangerous edge. You have 10 minutes to surrender the Ori specimen, or we will open fire. The transmission cut abruptly. Time to asteroid field perimeter? Kyrie asked. 7 minutes at current speed, the navigation officer reported. They're positioning for attack, Lieutenant Marin warned. Energy buildup detected in their forward weapons array. Kyrie addressed the crew. All hands, brace for evasive action. Divert all available power to engines and aft shields. The next 7 minutes were the longest of Kyrie's life as the Solar Vanguard pushed its engines beyond safe limits, racing for the relative protection of the asteroid field while the Vecchian cruiser closed the distance with inexorable precision. They're firing, Marin shouted just as they reached the outer boundary of the field. The ship shuddered violently as energy blasts struck their aft shields. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. Shields at 62%, reported the systems officer. Minor damage to exterior hull plating on decks 9 through 12. Take us in, Kyrie ordered, gripping the command rail as the ship lurched into the field. What followed was a harrowing dance through the asteroid field, the colonial vanguard weaving between massive rocks as the Vecchian cruiser pursued relentlessly. While the Inexorable was faster and more maneuverable in open space, the asteroid field partially equalized the odds, forcing the warship to proceed more cautiously. They're still gaining, but more slowly, Lieutenant Marin reported. Estimated 3 minutes before they're within optimal firing range again. Captain, the navigation officer called, I'm detecting a dense cluster ahead, extremely hazardous, but if we can thread through it, the Vecchian cruiser would have to go around. Show me, Kyrie ordered. The display revealed a nightmarish tangle of asteroids. many rotating and colliding in unpredictable patterns. It would require precision piloting beyond the Vanguard's design specifications. Can we make it through? The navigation officer hesitated. Possibly, but one miscalculation. Vecrean vessel is charging weapons again, Marin warned. They're trying for a clear shot between asteroids. Kyrie made his decision. Take us through the cluster. All hands, secure for extreme maneuvers. As the ship plunged deeper into the asteroid field, the medical bay comm activated. Captain, Dr. Sadi's voice was urgent. Rhea is conscious and insisting she needs to speak with you immediately. Patch her through. Rhea's voice was weak but determined. Captain Kyrie, I can help. The asteroids, I can sense their electromagnetic fields, predict their movements. Ow! Bring me to the bridge. The bioelectric fields, I can read them, interpret patterns too subtle for your sensors. Kyrie weighed the risk against their increasingly desperate situation. Dr. Sadi, is she strong enough to move? Barely, came the reluctant reply. But she's insistent. Bring her up, Kyrie decided. Quickly. Minutes later, Dr. Sadi supported Rhea onto the bridge. The Ori woman was pale, her luminescent patterns dim, but her eyes burned with determination. Kyrie vacated his command chair, helping her into it. Display asteroid field, Rhea requested, her voice stronger than a medical bay. As the tactical display activated, showing the complex, chaotic movement of the asteroid cluster ahead, Rhea's luminescent patterns began to pulse more vibrantly. She raised her hands, fingers trembling slightly as they hovered over the display. Your sensors see only position, velocity, she explained. I see currents, fields, the way energy flows between objects. Her patterns brightened further. They are a path. She traced a seemingly impossible route through the densest part of the cluster. The navigation officer looked skeptical. Captain, that trajectory would require split-second timing and maneuvers beyond our ship's capabilities. The asteroids themselves will help us, Rhea insisted. Their electromagnetic interactions create corridors, temporary but navigable. Another impact rocked the ship as the Vecrean cruiser landed a glancing blow. Shields at 41%, the systems officer reported urgently. Kyrie made his decision. Follow her guidance. As the navigation officer input the first adjustments, Rhea's luminescent patterns synchronized with the ship's movement, pulsing in time with each course correction. Left. Now. Accelerate. Now. Reduce speed. Now. The Solar Vanguard threaded through impossibly narrow gaps between tumbling asteroids, following paths that seemed to materialize moments before they needed them. On several occasions, asteroids that threatened to block their path collided with others or were deflected by gravitational interactions, creating brief windows of opportunity that Rhea somehow anticipated. On the tactical display, they could see the Vecrean cruiser falling behind, forced to take a longer, more cautious route around the densest part of the cluster. We're widening the gap, Lieutenant Marin reported with barely contained excitement. They can't match our course through the cluster. For nearly 20 minutes, they navigated the treacherous field under Rhea's guidance, until finally emerging into a relatively clear pocket, a region where the asteroids were sparse enough for safer travel, but still provided significant cover. We've lost them for now, Marin confirmed after scanning their surroundings. But they'll circle around eventually. Rhea slumped in the command chair, her luminescent patterns fading to a dim glow. Need to rest, she managed before her eyes fluttered closed. Get her back to medical, Kyrie ordered as Dr. Sadi rushed forward to check her vital signs. She's stable, Sadi reported after a quick examination. Just exhausted. What she did, it was extraordinary. As Rhea was carefully transported back to the medical bay, Kyrie turned to his crew. We've bought ourselves time, but the Vecreans won't give up. Lieutenant Marin, what's our status? Shields regenerating slowly at 47%. Hull damage on decks 9 through 12 contained, but requires repair. Engines running hot. We'll need to reduce speed soon to prevent burnout. Marin paused, studying his display. Captain, I'm detecting multiple dense mineral deposits among the asteroids in this region. Some appear to contain rare elements. Kyrie understood immediately. Can we use them to mask our signature? If we position ourselves correctly against one of the larger deposits, yes. It would create enough electromagnetic interference to make detailed scans difficult. Do it. Once we're in position, initiate repairs and bring engines to standard operating temperature. We need to be ready to move the moment they find us again. As the ship carefully maneuvered toward a massive asteroid with promising mineral composition, Officer Voss approached Kyrie. The alien, Rhea, just saved all our lives, she acknowledged quietly. But this doesn't change the fundamental problem. As long as she's aboard, the Vectrians will hunt us. She's also our best chance of evading them, Kyrie countered. What she did just now, guiding us through that cluster, that was beyond our technology. So what's your plan? Voss pressed. We can't hide in asteroid fields forever. Kyrie had been considering this very question. We need information. The Vectrians want her badly enough to commit significant resources to her capture. There must be more to her abilities than we've seen, something that makes her uniquely valuable to them. You think she's hiding something from us? Not necessarily hiding, but she's been a prisoner, tortured, experimented on. Trust doesn't come easily after that. Kyrie gazed out at the asteroid field surrounding them. When she's recovered enough, I intend to find out exactly who she is and what she can do, and then figure out how to use that to our advantage. Hours later, with the ship securely positioned against the mineral-rich asteroid and repair crews working to address the damage, Kyrie visited the medical bay again. Rhea was awake, sitting up on her bed, her luminescent patterns having regained some of their vibrancy. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Stronger," she replied. "Your doctor is skilled. What you did on the bridge, navigating us through that asteroid cluster. I've never seen anything like it." Rhea's patterns rippled in what Kyrie was beginning to recognize as discomfort or modesty. It is an ability all Ori have, to some degree, to sense energy fields, currents in space. But you said the Vectrians were specifically interested in your abilities. That suggests you can do more than the average Ori. She was silent for a long moment, studying him. Finally, she nodded. Yes, among my people, it was special, what you might call a resonator. She raised her hand, and the luminescent patterns brightened, forming complex, shifting designs. Most Ori can sense fields. Some can interpret them. Very few can manipulate them. And you can manipulate them? Yes. Not create energy, redirect it, amplify, or dampen existing fields. She lowered her hand. The Vectrians discovered this when they attacked our settlement. They saw potential. Weapon potential, Kyrie guessed. Rhea nodded grimly. Many applications. Disabling electronic systems remotely. Enhancing communications across vast distances. Even affecting neural functions in certain species. Mind control, Kyrie asked sharply. No, she shook her head firmly. Not control. Influence, perhaps. Calm or agitate, but not control thoughts. She met his gaze directly. I would not do such things even if I could. It violates our most sacred principles. How many of your people survived the Vectrian attack? Pain flashed across her features, her patterns momentarily dimming. Unknown. My settlement. All dead or captured. But Ori were once spread across many systems. Some may still exist in hiding. She hesitated. The Vectrians sought something else, too. Something I protected. What? Coordinates. To ancient Ori homeworld. Contains technology, knowledge from height of our civilization. Her expression grew fierce. I did not break. Did not give location. This is why they kept me alive. Why they will keep hunting. Kyrie absorbed this new information. So they want both you and this information. Yes. With both, they could weaponize Ori technology on massive scale. And without the coordinates, my abilities alone are still valuable to them, but not enough to turn the balance of power in the quadrant. She looked at him intently. Your ship saved me. Your people risked lives for stranger. What? The direct question caught Kyrie off guard. Because it was the right thing to do. Many would not agree. especially with Vecrians involved. Kyrie thought of his wife and daughter, their lives cut short by indifference as much as by violence. 3 years ago, my colony was destroyed. Not deliberately targeted, just collateral damage in someone else's war. We called for help. No one came. He met her gaze steadily. I won't be the one who doesn't come when someone calls. Ria's patterns shifted in a way he hadn't seen before. A gentle, rhythmic pulse. Your pain. I sense it. Deep currents. Before Kyrie could respond, Lieutenant Marin's voice came urgently over the comm system. Captain to the bridge. We've detected a transmission burst from within the asteroid field. When Kyrie arrived on the bridge, Marin was analyzing the signal data. It appears to be a short-range communication, heavily encrypted. Not from a Vecrian cruiser. This came from much closer. Direction? Difficult to pinpoint precisely due to interference from the mineral deposits, but approximately 2 kilometers from our position. Kyrie's mind raced through the implications. A probe? Or another ship? Unknown, but the transmission signature doesn't match Vecrian protocols. Wait. Marin looked up in surprise. Captain, it appears to be an Ori communication pattern. Are you certain? The frequency modulation matches what we observed from Ria during her navigation assistance. It's definitely similar technology. Could there be other Ori in this asteroid field? Kyrie wondered aloud. It's possible, Officer Voss interjected, hiding from the Vecrians just as we are. Or it could be a trap, Marin cautioned. The Vecrians have had Ori captives before. They could be using salvage technology to lure us out. Kyrie considered their options. Continue monitoring for similar transmissions. Prepare a scout ship, but don't launch yet. And have Ria brought to the bridge if Dr. Sadi clears her. Within minutes, Ria arrived, moving under her own power, now though still weaker than optimal. When shown the transmission data, her luminescent patterns flared in obvious excitement. This is Ori, she confirmed immediately. A specific pattern, a recognition code used between settlements. She studied the data more closely. This is not random. This is deliberate message. For any Ori who might receive it. What does it say? Kyrie asked. Roughly translated, kindred in exile. Safety and shadows. Respond on third harmonic. Her eyes met Kyrie's, bright with hope and urgency. There are others. We must respond. Captain, Officer Voss cautioned, this could still be a Vecrian trap. They captured her. They could have extracted communication protocols. But less likely they could replicate exact harmonic patterns, Ria countered. These have cultural signatures, subtle variations unique to specific Ori groups. She pointed to a pattern in the data. This indicates 7 settlement origins, my settlement. Kyrie made his decision. Can you respond safely, without giving away our exact position? Yes. Short directed pulse. I can calibrate it to appear as natural electromagnetic phenomenon to non-Ori sensors. Do it, Kyrie authorized. But be prepared to move immediately if this goes wrong. Ria positioned herself at a communications console. With Lieutenant Marin's assistance, she modified the system to generate the specific frequency patterns needed. Her luminescent markings synchronized with the console interfaces as she worked, creating a direct connection between her bioelectric field and the ship systems. Ready, she announced after several minutes of preparation. Transmitting on third harmonic, minimal power. Her patterns pulsed brightly for a brief moment as she sent the message, a carefully coded response acknowledging the original transmission and requesting verification. Tense minutes passed as they waited for a reply. Finally, the console activated again as a new transmission arrived, longer and more complex than the first. Ria's expression transformed as she processed the incoming data, her patterns flickering rapidly with what Kyrie now recognized as intense emotion. Captain, she said, her voice trembling, there are 17 Ori survivors hidden in the asteroid field, in a concealed base within one of the larger asteroids. She looked up, eyes shining. They escaped the Vecrian attack on our settlement. They've been hiding here for months. Are you certain they're really Ori? Officer Voss pressed. This verification process, is it secure? Yes. Rhea assured her. The response contains personal identifiers, shared memories that only true Ori from my settlement would know. Her patterns pulsed with renewed energy. They're sending coordinates for safe approach. Kyrie exchanged glances with his officers. This development could dramatically change their situation, for better or worse. Lieutenant Marin, analyze the provided coordinates. Officer Voss, prepare a security team to accompany the scout ship. He turned to Rhea. I want you with us when we make contact, but only if you're strong enough. I am strong enough for this, she said with absolute certainty. The coordinates led to a massive, irregularly shaped asteroid deep within the field. Scans revealed nothing unusual from a distance. Its composition appeared similar to others in the region, rich in various minerals that would naturally mask life signs or technology. Kyrie led the small expedition himself, taking the scout ship with Rhea, Lieutenant Marin, Officer Voss, and 4 security personnel. As they approached the designated coordinates, Rhea guided them to a narrow fissure in the asteroid's surface, barely visible until they were almost upon it. There, she indicated, the entrance is concealed within that crevice. As the scout ship cautiously navigated the narrow opening, they found themselves in a winding tunnel that eventually opened into a hollowed-out chamber within the asteroid. The space was illuminated by soft, bioluminescent light sources that pulsed with patterns similar to Rhea's markings. And there, waiting in the chamber, were the Ori survivors. They were immediately recognizable as Rhea's species, the same iridescent skin with luminescent patterns, similar facial structures with delicate ridge formations. But where Rhea was still weakened, her patterns dim from her ordeal, these Ori glowed with healthy luminescence, their patterns flowing in complex, beautiful synchronicity. As the scout ship docked and the airlock cycled, one Ori stepped forward from the group, older than Rhea, with more elaborate ridge patterns and intense violet-blue luminescence. I am Nereidus, he announced in accented standard English as they disembarked. Elder of 7th Settlement refugees. His gaze fixed on Rhea, patterns pulsing in obvious emotion. Rhea, we believed you lost. Rhea moved forward, her own patterns synchronizing with his in what appeared to be a form of greeting or recognition. Elder Nereidus, I was captured during evacuation, held by Vectrians for study, and these humans freed you. Nereidus looked at Kyrie and his team with newfound interest. They answered my distress call, Rhea confirmed. Risked their vessel against Vectrian cruiser to save me. Elder Nereidus studied them for a moment, then performed a formal gesture, hands crossed over chest, patterns brightening in a specific sequence. Then we owe them our gratitude. Any friend of the last resonator is a friend to all Ori. Last resonator? Kyrie questioned, glancing at Rhea. The only one to escape the initial Vectrian attack, Nereidus clarified. There were 7 among our settlement. The others were captured or killed immediately. Rhea was our most gifted. The Vectrians would have prioritized her capture. As they were led deeper into the asteroid base, Kyrie marveled at what the Ori had accomplished. What had appeared from outside to be a simple rock was in fact a sophisticated outpost, with multiple chambers connected by winding passages. Bioluminescent technology provided light and apparently some form of energy generation, while carefully cultivated alien vegetation served as both food source and air purification. How long have you been here? Kyrie asked as they gathered in what appeared to be a central meeting area. 137 standard cycles, Nereidus replied. Since the fall of our settlement. And the Vectrians haven't found you? We remain in constant vigilance, another Ori explained, a female who had introduced herself as the Lyra, their security coordinator. The mineral composition of this asteroid cluster naturally masks our presence. Additionally, we've developed methods to dampen any technology signatures. But now, they're actively hunting in this region, Officer Voss pointed out. Because of Rhea, a troubled murmur passed through the gathered Ori, their patterns flickering in obvious concern. This is true, Nereidus acknowledged. Your arrival with Rhea has escalated our risk. The Vecrians rarely venture this deep into the asteroid field, but for a resonator, they will be more persistent. What? Kyrie asked directly. What makes resonators so valuable to them? Nereidus and the other Ori exchanged glances, their patterns shifting in what appeared to be a silent consultation. Finally, Nereidus nodded. Show them, Rhea. They have earned the right to know. Rhea stepped forward into the center of the gathering. Her luminescent patterns began to pulse more rapidly, growing brighter with each cycle. She raised her hands, and the air around her seemed to shimmer with barely visible energy. The effect started small, nearby bioluminescent light sources intensifying, synchronizing with her patterns. But then it spread further. Electronic devices the humans carried began to activate without being touched. Kyrie felt a strange, tingling sensation across his skin, not unpleasant, but distinctly unusual. As Rhea's demonstration intensified, the very walls of the chamber seemed to resonate, the mineral deposits within them glowing faintly in response to whatever energy she was channeling. A resonator can harmonize with and manipulate energy fields on a fundamental level, Nereidus explained as they watched in awe. From simple electromagnetic fields to the complex bioelectric systems within living organisms. At full strength, a skilled resonator can influence technology, environment, even certain biological processes. Defensive applications, the Lyra added. Communication, healing, environmental adaptation. These are the traditional uses of resonator abilities. But the Vecrians saw weapons, Rhea said, lowering her hands as the demonstration ended. They discovered that a forced resonance could disable ship systems, disrupt communications, even cause pain in certain species by interfering with neural pathways. And with Ori technology from your ancient homeworld, Kyrie began. They could amplify these abilities to terrifying scale, Nereidus confirmed grimly. A weaponized resonator, linked to appropriate technology, could theoretically disable entire fleets, disrupt planetary defense systems, or cause widespread biological disruption. The implications were staggering. No wonder the Vecrians were hunting Rhea so persistently. With her abilities and the ancient Ori technology, they could shift the balance of power throughout the quadrant. Your ship rescued Rhea at great risk, Nereidus acknowledged. Now you face Vecrian pursuit because of that choice. We cannot ask you to shoulder this burden alone. What are you proposing? Kyrie asked. An alliance, Nereidus replied simply. We have survived here by necessity, not choice. Eventually, the Vecrians will find this place, with or without Rhea's presence. We have ships, small but fast and well-concealed. Together, we might reach the neutral territories beyond Vecrian influence. Lieutenant Marin leaned closer to Kyrie. Captain, their technology could significantly enhance our chances of evading the Vecrians. And 17 additional people wouldn't overly strain our resources. Officer Voss was more cautious. We know next to nothing about these people or their true capabilities. The Vecrians are hunting them for a reason. Kyrie considered the options carefully. The Solar Vanguard was already committed to this course. They couldn't abandon Rhea now, and the Vecrians wouldn't stop hunting them regardless. Additional allies with unique capabilities could make the difference between survival and capture. We would welcome your people aboard the Solar Vanguard, he told Nereidus. But we need to move quickly. The Vecrian cruiser is still searching this asteroid field, and they'll find us eventually. There is another option, Rhea said hesitantly. All eyes turned to her. The ancient homeworld. If we could reach it before the Vecrians, secure its technology. Impossible, the Lyra interrupted. The coordinates are secured in the Oracle Matrix, which only Rhea can access, and the journey would take us directly through Vecrian-controlled space. Not necessarily, Rhea countered. I've had time to analyze the star charts while in Vecrian captivity. There's a route, dangerous, but possible, through the Viridian Nebula. The electromagnetic disturbances would make pursuit difficult, and the Vecrians generally avoid the region due to navigation hazards. Elder Nereidus looked troubled. The nebula contains its own dangers, and the homeworld has been abandoned for generations. But its defensive systems should still be operational, Rhea pressed. If we could reactivate them, we could establish a haven not just for ourselves, but for all those fleeing Vecrean oppression. The proposal hung in the air, bold and dangerous. Kyrie exchanged glances with his officers, reading their reactions. Lieutenant Marin looked intrigued, while Officer Voss remained skeptical, but not entirely. Dismissive. This is not a decision to make hastily, Kyrie said finally. For now, our priority is evading the immediate Vecrean threat. We should combine our resources and leave this asteroid field as soon as possible. Once we're at a safer distance, we can discuss longer-term strategies. Elder Nereidus nodded in agreement. Wisdom and caution. We will gather our people and essential supplies. Our ships can follow yours at a distance, providing additional security and alternative escape options if needed. As preparations began for the Ori to join the Solar Vanguard, Rhea approached Kyrie privately. "Captain," she said, her voice low, "there is something you should know. The Vecreans who held me, they were not acting with full Empire authorization." Kyrie frowned. "What do you mean?" "The facility where I was held was operated by military intelligence faction, Admiral Zoroth's personal research division. Their methods and objectives were extreme, even by Vecrean standards." Her patterns pulsed with intensity. If discovered, elements within Vecrean government might actually oppose them. "You're suggesting we could exploit internal Vecrean politics?" "Possibly. The Empire is not as unified as they pretend. There are factions, rivalries." She looked at him intently. "The data Marin recovered from my containment module. It contains evidence of unsanctioned experiments, violations of even Vecrean research protocols. This was a significant revelation, potential leverage they hadn't considered before. We'll analyze the data more thoroughly once we're clear of immediate danger," Kyrie decided. "If there's a way to use this against Zoroth, we'll find it." 6 hours later, the combined group was ready to depart. The Ori had 3 small vessels, sleek, organically designed craft that incorporated their bioluminescent technology. Each could accommodate only 5 or 6 passengers, but they were remarkably stealthy, capable of manipulating surrounding energy fields to mask their presence. The plan was for the Solar Vanguard to leave first, drawing any Vecrean attention, while the Ori ships would follow at a distance, using their superior stealth capabilities to avoid detection. If the Vanguard was confronted, the Ori vessels could potentially create a diversion or offer an alternative escape route. As final preparations were completed, Rhea joined Kyrie on the bridge of the Solar Vanguard. Her strength had continued to return, her luminescent patterns now glowing with healthy vibrancy. "Your people have accomplished something remarkable here," Kyrie observed. "Surviving against overwhelming odds, building a hidden community." "Survival is not enough," Rhea replied, watching as the last of the Ori supplies were loaded aboard. "We have existed here but not lived. Always hiding, always afraid." She turned to him, her patterns pulsing with renewed purpose. "What you did, answering a stranger's distress call despite the risk, it reminded us of what we once were, what we could be again." Before Kyrie could respond, Lieutenant Marin called urgently from his station. "Captain, long-range sensors have detected the Vecrean cruiser. They've altered course, heading directly toward this region of the asteroid field." "They've found us," Officer Voss stated grimly, "or at least narrowed down our location." "Time to intercept," Kyrie demanded. "At their current speed, approximately 22 minutes. Kyrie's mind raced through their options. "Are all Ori aboard?" "Negative," Marin reported. "Approximately half have transferred to our ship. The rest are still loading essential equipment onto their vessels. Tell them to accelerate final preparations. We need to be underway in 15 minutes at most." Kyrie turned to the navigation officer. "Plot an exit vector that takes advantage of the densest part of the asteroid field for initial cover. Once clear, we'll make for the Viridian Nebula's outer boundary." As the bridge crew rushed to execute his orders, Officer Voss approached. "The nebula? You're actually considering the Ori homeworld mission?" "I'm considering all options that keep us alive," Kyrie replied. "For now, the nebula offers our best chance of losing the Vecreans. We'll reassess once we're safe." The next 15 minutes passed in a blur of coordinated chaos as the remaining Ori hastened to complete their preparations. With barely minutes to spare before the Vectrian cruiser would be in sensor range, the Solar Vanguard disengaged from the asteroid base, with the three smaller Ori vessels following at carefully calculated intervals. Vectrian cruiser adjusting course, Marin reported tensely. They've detected our engine signatures. Engage evasive pattern delta, Kyrie ordered. Maximum sustainable speed. Lieutenant, signal the Ori vessels to disperse according to the agreed protocol. The Solar Vanguard surged forward, weaving through the asteroid field along a pre-calculated route, designed to provide maximum cover. Behind them, the Ori ships separated, each taking a different trajectory while maintaining their stealth fields at maximum. For a brief, hopeful moment, it seemed the plan might work. The Vanguard made good progress toward the edge of the asteroid field, and the Vectrian cruiser appeared to be having difficulty tracking them precisely through the dense mineral interference. Then disaster struck. Energy surge detected from the Vectrian vessel. Marin shouted, "They're deploying some kind of pulse weapon." A massive electromagnetic wave expanded outward from the Vectrian cruiser, washing over the asteroid field like a tsunami of energy. As it passed through the Vanguard, systems flickered momentarily before stabilizing. Minor disruptions to non-essential systems, the systems officer reported. No significant damage, but the real target became immediately apparent. Captain, the Ori vessels, their stealth fields have collapsed. The pulse completely disrupted their bioluminescent technology. On the tactical display, the three previously well-concealed Ori ships suddenly appeared as bright, exposed signatures, easy targets for the Vectrian cruiser's weapon systems. They knew exactly what to target. Rhea realized, horror in her voice. The pulse was specifically calibrated to disrupt Ori bioelectric fields. Before Kyrie could respond, the display showed the Vectrian cruiser adjusting course, deploying smaller interceptor craft that launched toward the now vulnerable Ori vessels. The Ori ships can't outrun those interceptors, Lieutenant Marin warned. Kyrie faced an impossible choice. Continue their escape, potentially saving the Solar Vanguard and the Ori already aboard, or turn back to help the exposed vessels, risking everyone. New course, he ordered without hesitation. Bring us about. Intercept trajectory between the Vectrian interceptors and the nearest Ori vessel. Captain, Officer Voss protested. We can't outfight those interceptors, let alone the cruiser. We're not going to outfight them, Kyrie replied grimly. We're going to outthink them. He turned to Rhea. Can you restart the Ori ship's stealth systems? She shook her head. Not remotely. The pulse disrupted their harmonic patterns. They would need to be recalibrated from within each vessel. Then we give them time to do that, Kyrie decided. He addressed the tactical officer. Prepare to deploy countermeasures. All of them. I want so much electromagnetic noise that their sensors are completely overwhelmed. As the Solar Vanguard changed course, racing back toward the endangered Ori vessels, Kyrie outlined his desperate plan. They would deploy every countermeasure they had: electromagnetic buoys, sensor decoys, radiation flares, creating a chaotic environment that would confuse Vectrian targeting systems. Meanwhile, they would attempt to physically interpose between the interceptors and the Ori ships, buying precious minutes for the Ori to restart their stealth systems. It's a significant risk, Lieutenant Marin noted, though his expression showed clear support for the decision. So is answering a distress call from an unknown containment module, Kyrie replied. We're committed now. The next moments were pure chaos as the Solar Vanguard executed its desperate maneuver. Countermeasures bloomed across the battlefield, creating a storm of false signals and electromagnetic interference. The ship's engines strained as they pushed beyond recommended output levels, racing to position themselves between the interceptors and the nearest Ori vessel. On the bridge, Rhea established communication with the Ori ships, guiding them through emergency procedures to restart their disrupted systems. Her luminescent patterns pulsed frantically as she coordinated the complex effort. Interceptors adjusting course. the tactical officer reported. They're attempting to maneuver around us. Match their course changes, Kyrie ordered. Keep them focused on us. The gambit was partially successful. Two of the interceptors diverted to engage the Solar Vanguard, while the third continued toward the Ori vessels. Warning alarms blared as the interceptors opened fire, energy weapons impacting against the Vanguard's already weakened shields. Shields at 29%, the systems officer called out. We can't sustain this level of fire for long. Evasive pattern Gamma, Kyrie commanded. Rotate shield frequencies to distribute impact. Rhea suddenly straightened, her patterns flaring brightly. Captain, the nearest Ori vessel has re-established basic stealth functions. They're beginning to fade from sensors. It was working, but too slowly. The third interceptor was still closing on the other Ori ships, and the Vecrean cruiser itself was now moving to join the battle. We need more time, Rhea said urgently. Kyrie made another split-second decision. Lieutenant Marin, transfer auxiliary power to the forward shields. Prepare for deliberate intercept of Interceptor 3. Captain, Marin questioned, understanding the implications. You heard me. We're going to physically block that interceptor. It was a dangerous maneuver, using their larger vessel as a literal shield between the Vecrean interceptor and its targets. The Solar Vanguard surged forward, positioning itself directly in the interceptor's path. The impact was jarring as the smaller vessel attempted to veer away, but clipped the Vanguard's reinforced hull. Damage alarms blared across multiple decks. Hull breach on Deck 11, the systems officer reported. Emergency containment activated, but the desperate tactic had achieved its purpose. The interceptor tumbled away, temporarily disabled by the collision, while the Ori vessels had gained precious seconds to complete their stealth reactivation. All three Ori vessels report stealth systems operational at minimal capacity, Rhea announced, relief evident in her voice. They're fading from sensors now. Not a moment too soon, Lieutenant Marin warned. Vecrean cruiser entering weapons range. The main display showed the imposing Vecrean vessel bearing down on them, weapons systems powering up for what would likely be a devastating attack. The Solar Vanguard, damaged and with depleted shields, couldn't survive a direct confrontation. All hands, brace for emergency maneuvers, Kyrie ordered. Navigation, set course for the densest portion of the asteroid field. Maximum emergency thrust. As the ship lurched into motion, Rhea stepped forward, determination blazing in her eyes and patterns. Captain, there's another option. Let me help. Ow! The Vecrean cruiser. Its weapons systems use electromagnetic targeting. I can't disable them completely, but I can disrupt them enough to reduce accuracy. Her patterns intensified. I need direct access to the sensor array. Kyrie hesitated only briefly. Do it. Rhea moved to the sensor control station, placing her hands directly on the interface. Her luminescent patterns immediately synchronized with the ship's systems, creating a direct connection between her bioelectric field and the sensor array. What followed was extraordinary. Rhea's patterns pulsed in complex, rapidly shifting sequences as she channeled her unique abilities through the ship's systems. The sensor display showed a wave of carefully calibrated energy emanating from the Vanguard, targeted specifically at the Vecrean cruiser's weapons control systems. The effect wasn't immediately apparent, but when the cruiser fired its main weapons. The effect wasn't immediately apparent, but when the cruiser fired its main weapons array, the energy beams dispersed wildly, most missing the Vanguard entirely and the few that connected delivering only glancing blows. It's working, Lieutenant Marin exclaimed. Their targeting systems are completely destabilized. Rhea maintained her focus, sweat beading on her forehead as she continued channeling energy through the ship's systems. Cannot maintain this for long, she managed through gritted teeth. Hurry. Navigation, execute emergency jump to coordinates 227, Mark 89, Kyrie ordered. Engineering, prepare for maximum thrust on my mark. As the ship's systems aligned for the desperate maneuver, the Vecrean cruiser launched another attack. this time deploying a spread of tracking projectiles designed to follow their target regardless of evasive actions. Incoming projectiles, the tactical officer warned. Impact in 12 seconds. Mark, Kyrie commanded. The Solar Vanguard's engines ignited with blinding intensity, pushing the ship forward with bone-jarring acceleration. The damaged vessel groaned under the strain as it hurtled toward a narrow gap between two massive asteroids, a passage that appeared barely wide enough to accommodate them. Rhea collapsed, her strength finally exhausted, but her disruption of the Vecrean targeting systems had done its work. Most of the projectiles lost lock, detonating harmlessly in space or impacting against nearby asteroids. The few that maintained pursuit were seconds behind, seconds that might make all the difference. 3 seconds to passage, the navigation officer called out. 2, 1. The Solar Vanguard squeezed through the narrow gap, scraping its already damaged hull against the rocky surface. The moment they cleared the passage, Kyrie shouted his final order. Detonate the emergency charges. Explosive charges, hastily placed along their escape route during their earlier navigation of the asteroid field, detonated in sequence, collapsing the narrow passage behind them in a cascade of rocky debris. The pursuing projectiles slammed into the newly formed barrier, their explosions adding to the chaotic collapse. For several tense moments, the bridge crew held their breath, waiting to see if the gambit had succeeded. Finally, Lieutenant Marin confirmed what they all hoped. No, pursuit detected. The passage is completely blocked, and the Vecrean cruiser would have to circumnavigate the entire asteroid cluster to reach our position. A collective sigh of relief swept through the bridge. Kyrie moved to where Rhea lay exhausted but conscious, Dr. Sadi already attending to her. The Ori ships? Rhea asked weakly. All 3 have confirmed successful escape, Marin reported. They're maintaining stealth protocols and will rendezvous with us at the predetermined coordinates once we're clear of the asteroid field. Kyrie placed a hand on Rhea's shoulder. You saved us all. Again. She managed a tired smile. We saved each other. Hours later, with the immediate danger behind them, the Solar Vanguard rendezvoused with the 3 Ori vessels at the edge of the asteroid field. Damage control teams had managed to stabilize the hull breach and restore shields to minimal functionality, though the ship would need more extensive repairs before attempting any long-distance journey. In the main conference room, Kyrie met with Elder Nereidus, the Lyra, and other leaders from both groups to discuss their next steps. Rhea, recovered enough to participate, sat beside Dr. Sadi, who continued to monitor her condition discreetly. The Vecreans will not abandon their pursuit, Elder Nereidus stated gravely. They will call for reinforcements, establish a blockade around the asteroid field, and methodically search until they find us. Then we don't wait for them to regroup, Kyrie decided. We make for the Viridian Nebula immediately. The Lyra spread a star chart across the table. The nebula's outer boundary is approximately 6 days' journey at your vessel's current maximum safe speed. However, the damage sustained during our escape will likely extend that timeline. That's assuming we aren't intercepted again, Officer Voss pointed out. The Vecreans have outposts throughout this sector. They'll be alerted to watch for us, which is why we don't take a direct route, Rhea interjected. She approached the star chart, indicating an alternative path. Here, through the Teresian Drift, the dust clouds will provide cover, and we can use the gravitational distortion around the Nerean pulsar to mask our energy signature. Lieutenant Marin studied the proposed route. It would add approximately 3 days to our journey, but significantly reduce the risk of detection. The Ori vessels can assist with repairs while in transit, Elder Nereidus offered. Our bioluminescent technology can accelerate certain regenerative processes in your ship systems. Not a complete solution, but enough to improve functionality. Kyrie nodded his acceptance. Let's make it happen. We depart in 2 hours. As the meeting concluded and preparations began for the journey ahead, Rhea approached Kyrie privately. Captain, there's something else. Something I haven't fully explained about the ancient Ori homeworld. I've been wondering about that, Kyrie admitted. The Vecreans want its coordinates badly enough to hunt you across the quadrant. What exactly are they hoping to find there? Rhea hesitated, her luminescent patterns shifting in complex patterns that suggested internal conflict. Not just technology, something more fundamental. The source of the Ori's bioelectric abilities. I don't understand. Our homeworld contains a nexus, a natural phenomenon where energy fields converge in unique patterns. It is what gave the ancient Ori their abilities, allowed us to develop our civilization. Her patterns intensified. The Vectrians believe they can harness this nexus, not just to replicate Ori abilities, but to enhance them beyond anything we ever achieved. And could they? Possibly. But the nexus is not simply a power source to be controlled. It responds to intent, to harmony. The ancient Ori developed their abilities through generations of careful attunement, respecting the natural balance. Her expression darkened. The Vectrians would attempt to force it, to dominate it. The consequences could be catastrophic, not just for them, but for surrounding star systems. The significance of this revelation was staggering. What had seemed like a desperate quest for refuge now took on galaxy-altering implications. And you can access this nexus? Kyrie asked. As a resonator, yes. I can interface with it, communicate with it in ways others cannot. This is why Zoroth was so determined to capture me specifically. Not just for my abilities, but because I carry the exact harmonic frequencies needed to activate the nexus in my neural patterns. Kyrie absorbed this information, understanding now the true weight of responsibility Rhea carried. Why tell me this now? Because you deserve to know the full risk of what we're attempting. This isn't just about finding sanctuary for a few refugees. If we succeed in reaching the homeworld before the Vectrians, we have a chance to protect the nexus, to ensure it's never weaponized. She met his gaze directly. But if we fail, if the Vectrians capture me and obtain the coordinates, the balance of power in this quadrant will shift irrevocably. The journey to the Viridian Nebula was fraught with tension and challenges. The combined fleet, the Solar Vanguard, and the 3 smaller Ori vessels took the indirect route Rhea had suggested, navigating through the dust clouds of the Teresian Drift and using the gravitational distortion around the Nerean pulsar to mask their energy signatures. Twice they had close calls with Vectrian patrols, forced to power down systems, and drift silently as enemy vessels passed nearby. The Ori ships proved invaluable during these moments, using their advanced stealth technology to create distractions or false readings that drew attention away from the more vulnerable Vanguard. Meanwhile, Ori specialists worked alongside the Vanguard's engineers to repair damage sustained during their escape from the asteroid field. As Elder Nereidus had promised, their bioluminescent technology accelerated certain regenerative processes in the ship's systems, gradually restoring functionality to damaged components. Rhea spent much of this time with Dr. Sadi, who had become fascinated by Ori physiology and bioelectric abilities. Together, they explored potential medical applications of resonator techniques, discovering that Rhea could accelerate healing processes in injured crew members by harmonizing with their natural bioelectric fields. The possibilities are remarkable, Dr. Sadi observed after one such session. Watching as a crewman with a severe plasma burn showed significant improvement after Rhea's treatment. This goes beyond standard regenerative therapy. You're actually encouraging the body's own systems to work more efficiently. It is an ancient practice among our people, Rhea explained. Before the Vectrian attacks, resonators often served as healers, using our abilities to restore balance to damaged biological systems. Could these techniques be adapted for different species? Taught to non-Ori healers? Some basic principles, perhaps. The full practice requires the bioelectric sensitivity native to Ori physiology. Rhea demonstrated by causing her luminescent patterns to pulse in specific sequences. Each pattern corresponds to different biological systems. By attuning to them, I can identify and address imbalances. Dr. Sadi documented these sessions meticulously, hoping to preserve at least some of this knowledge regardless of what happened in the days ahead. Meanwhile, Kyrie divided his attention between overseeing ship operations and strategic planning with Elder Nereidus and the Lyra. They spent long hours studying the limited information available about the Viridian Nebula and plotting their approach to the Ori homeworld beyond. The nebula itself presents significant navigational challenges, the Lyra explained during one such session. Electromagnetic disturbances, radiation pockets, unstable gravitational fields. It's why the Vectrians avoid the region. Can we safely navigate through it? Kyrie asked. With Rhea's guidance, yes. A resonator can sense the energy patterns, predict disturbances before they occur. She highlighted a particular region on the star chart. Here is where we must be most cautious. The scintillation zone, where radiation levels fluctuate unpredictably. And beyond the nebula, Elder Nereidus activated a holographic projection, an ancient Ori star chart showing a system hidden deep within the nebula's heart. The homeworld, Orivalar, once the center of our civilization, abandoned generations ago when the system's star began to destabilize. Is it still habitable? The surface, no, but our ancestors built vast subterranean complexes designed to survive the star's transition phase. If the environmental systems remain operational, they could support life indefinitely. And the nexus Rhea mentioned? Nereidus and the Lyra exchanged glances. The heart of Orivalar, Nereidus confirmed. A natural phenomenon at the planet's core, where unique energy fields converge. It is difficult to explain to non-Ori. The closest comparison in your language might be a living quantum network, a self-sustaining energy system that responds to consciousness itself. Kyrie tried to grasp the concept. And this is what gave your people their abilities? Yes, generations of exposure shaped our evolution, integrated the Nexus's energy patterns into our very biology. Nereidus indicated his own luminescent markings. These patterns are physical manifestations of that connection, unique to each individual, yet following the same fundamental harmonics. It was fascinating, but also concerning. If such power existed, the Vectrians' determination to control it made strategic sense, if not ethical sense. Once we reach Orivalar, Kyrie asked, what then? Can its defenses truly protect us from Vectrian pursuit? The ancient defense systems were designed to respond to Ori bioelectric signatures, the Lyra explained. If they remain operational and can be reactivated by a resonator, they would be formidable, capable of generating energy shields that could withstand sustained bombardment. But everything depends on reaching the homeworld first, Nereidus emphasized. The journey through the nebula will take at least 4 days, even with resonator guidance. If the Vectrians anticipate our destination, the implication was clear. Their plan hinged on maintaining their lead, on reaching Orivalar before pursuit could catch them. It was a desperate gambit, but perhaps their only chance for lasting safety. 9 days after their escape from the asteroid field, the combined fleet finally approached the outer boundary of the Viridian Nebula. The massive cloud of gas and dust loomed before them, awash in swirling colors, predominantly greens and blues with occasional flashes of violet energy that rippled through the cosmic mist. It's beautiful, Lieutenant Marin remarked as they prepared for entry. I've never seen anything quite like it. The colors result from unique radiation interactions with metallic particles in the dust cloud, Rhea explained, now stationed at a specially modified sensor console. The flashes are electromagnetic discharges, harmless at this distance, but potentially dangerous once we're inside. Kyrie addressed the assembled bridge crew. This is our final opportunity to reconsider. Once we enter the nebula, we're committed to this course. Navigation will be extremely difficult, communications limited, and if we encounter problems, assistance is unlikely. He looked from face to face, giving each crew member a moment to voice concerns. None did. Very well. All stations, prepare for nebula entry. Rhea, whenever you're ready. Rhea's luminescent patterns brightened as she connected with the ship's sensor systems. I'm establishing a real-time navigation link with the Ori vessels. We'll proceed in close formation with the Vanguard at the center. Entering in 3, 2, 1. The solar vanguard crossed the nebula's boundary, immediately encountering the first wave of electromagnetic interference. Standard sensors flickered and distorted, but Rhea's bioelectric interface maintained a clear navigational pathway. Shields adjusting to radiation levels, Lieutenant Marin reported. Environmental systems compensating for increased particle density. For several hours, they progressed steadily deeper into the nebula, the cosmic mist growing thicker around them until visibility was reduced to mere hundreds of meters. The Ori vessels maintained formation, their bioluminescent exterior markings pulsing in synchronized patterns that allowed visual confirmation of their positions when sensors faltered. Then, late in the second day of nebula navigation, disaster struck. Energy surge detected at bearing 157, Mark 42. Lieutenant Marin called out suddenly. Massive displacement wave approaching. Source. Kyrie demanded. Unknown. Wait, reading multiple ships emerging from subspace. Marin's expression darkened. Vecchrian signatures. Captain. They found us. The tactical display, though distorted by nebula interference, showed the unmistakable triangular configurations of Vecchrian vessels. Not just one, but 3 warships materializing less than 500,000 kilometers away. Ow! Officer Voss demanded. How could they have anticipated our position so precisely? Rhea's patterns pulsed rapidly in obvious distress. They must have analyzed our escape vector, predicted our destination. She studied the tactical display. The lead vessel. Its energy signature matches the cruiser from the asteroid field. Admiral Zoroth. All hands, battle stations, Kyrie ordered. Evasive pattern Omega. Rhea, can you find us cover in the nebula? She focused intensely on the sensor readings. Yes, there's a dense radiation pocket at coordinates 213, Mark 78. The interference would make tracking difficult, but navigating through it would be extremely dangerous. Plot the course, Kyrie decided. Signal the Ori vessels to maintain close formation. As the solar vanguard altered course, heading deeper into the nebula toward the radiation pocket Rhea had identified, the Vecchrian warships adjusted to pursue. They're launching interceptors, Lieutenant Marin warned. 6 craft, moving to surround our position. Weapons status? Functioning, but severely limited by nebula interference. Targeting systems at 40% efficiency at best. Kyrie grimaced. A direct confrontation against 3 warships and their interceptors was suicide. Their only hope was to use the nebula itself as a weapon and shield. Rhea, what about the electromagnetic discharges you mentioned? Can they affect Vecchrian systems? Her eyes widened at his implication. Yes, particularly their sensor arrays. But triggering such discharges deliberately would require precisely modulated energy pulses at specific frequencies. Can you generate those pulses through our deflector array? Theoretically, yes, but the risk is substantial. If miscalculated, we could trigger a cascade reaction that would affect us as well. Better than being captured, Kyrie decided. Make the preparations. As Rio worked with the engineering team to reconfigure the deflector array, the Vecchrian interceptors closed in, firing warning shots that dissipated harmlessly against the Vanguard shields. A communications signal broke through the interference. Attention refugee vessel, Admiral Zoroth's cold voice announced. You have crossed into restricted space and are harboring fugitives of the Vecchrian Empire. Surrender the Ori specimens immediately or face destruction. Kyrie nodded to Lieutenant Marin, who opened a response channel. This is Captain Damon Kyrie of the Solar Vanguard. We are transporting refugees to sanctuary under the protection of interstellar asylum conventions. Your pursuit constitutes a violation of neutral territory protocols. A harsh laugh answered him. Protocols? There are no protocols that supersede imperial security interests. The Ori and their technology are classified as strategic assets by direct order of the High Command. They are people, Admiral. Not assets, not specimens. People with rights to liberty and self-determination. Your misguided sentimentality is noted, Captain. You have 3 minutes to power down your engines and prepare to be boarded, or we open fire. The transmission cut, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Deflector modifications complete, Rhea announced. I've calibrated the energy pulses to trigger specific discharge patterns in the surrounding nebula gases. But timing is critical. We need the Vecrean vessels within the discharge radius, but must ensure our ships are sufficiently shielded. Kyrie nodded understanding. Lieutenant Marin, signal the Ori vessels to execute maneuver Theta on my mark. Navigation. Prepare for emergency reverse thrust. The plan was dangerous but potentially effective. They would appear to surrender, allowing the Vecrean vessels to close distance, then trigger the electromagnetic discharge while simultaneously executing a rapid reverse maneuver that would place them behind the protective barrier of the radiation pocket. Vecrean warships closing, Marin reported. Interceptors moving to flanking positions. 60 seconds to optimal discharge position. Power levels to deflector array. Kyrie asked. Maximum safe output, the engineering officer confirmed. Any higher risks system overload. Increase by 15%, Kyrie ordered. We need enough power to ensure the discharge affects all pursuing vessels. 30 seconds to position, Marin counted down. Vecreans are hailing again. They're demanding immediate response. Let them think we're considering surrender, Kyrie replied. Standby deflector activation. All hands, secure for emergency maneuvers. The Vecrean warships grew larger on the view screen as they closed distance, their imposing silhouettes partially obscured by the nebula's swirling gases. 15 seconds. 10. 5. Now, Kyrie commanded. Multiple actions happened simultaneously. The Solar Vanguard's deflector array emitted a precisely modulated energy pulse into the surrounding nebula gases. The ship's engines executed an emergency reverse thrust, pushing them rapidly backward toward the radiation pocket. And the 3 Ori vessels executed perfect synchronous maneuvers, positioning themselves in tight formation behind the Vanguard. What followed was spectacular and terrifying. The energy pulse triggered a cascade of electromagnetic discharges throughout the nebula gas, creating a blinding network of energy tendrils that engulfed the approaching Vecrean vessels. Their shields flared under the assault, and their systems visibly flickered as the electromagnetic storm overwhelmed their protective measures. Discharge successful, Marin reported over the sound of straining engines. Vecrean systems experiencing critical failures across multiple subsystems. Their weapons are offline, shields at minimal capacity. Radiation pocket in 5 seconds, the navigation officer warned. Brace for interference. The Solar Vanguard plunged into the dense radiation area Rhea had identified, the Ori vessels following precisely in their wake. Immediately, the ship shuddered as radiation particles bombarded their shields, and systems across the bridge fluctuated in response to the intense interference. Maintain course through the pocket, Kyrie ordered. Maximum safe speed. Engineering, divert additional power to radiation shields. For several harrowing minutes, they traversed the radiation pocket, sensors nearly blind and communications reduced to the most basic signals between vessels. When they finally emerged on the far side, the tactical display showed the Vecrean warships still struggling to recover from the electromagnetic discharge, now separated from their quarry by the impassable radiation barrier. We've done it, Lieutenant Marin breathed, disbelief and relief mingling in his voice. They can't follow through the radiation pocket. Their systems wouldn't survive the interference in their current state. They'll find another way around, Officer Voss cautioned, though even she couldn't hide her relief. But it buys us time. How much time? Kyrie asked Rhea. She studied the navigational data, her luminescent patterns pulsing in complex calculations. Difficult to be precise, but the radiation pocket extends for nearly 2 light days in either direction. They would need to circumnavigate it entirely, then locate us in the nebula's interior. At minimum, 36 hours. Possibly more if their systems sustained significant damage. Then we make the most of that time, Kyrie decided. Set course for Ori Valor. Maximum sustainable speed. The journey through the heart of the Viridian Nebula grew increasingly challenging as they approached the ancient Ori homeworld. Radiation levels fluctuated wildly, gravitational eddies threatened to pull them off course, and sensor visibility decreased to near zero at times. Only Ria's unique abilities allowed them to navigate safely, her bioelectric senses detecting patterns and energy flows invisible to standard instrumentation. After 2 days of careful progression through this cosmic maze, they finally detected the first sign of their destination. "Captain," Ria called from her station, excitement evident in her voice. "I'm receiving harmonic resonance patterns consistent with Ori technology. Distance approximately 600,000 kilometers, bearing 027, Mark 15. Kyrie moved to join her at the sensor console. "Can you establish the nature of the source?" "Appears to be an automated beacon, part of the ancient defensive perimeter around Ori Valor. It's dormant, but responding to my bioelectric signature." Her patterns brightened as she focused her abilities. "I believe I can activate it remotely." What would that accomplish? The defensive perimeter was designed with multiple layers of protection. Activating the outer beacons would begin a sequential power-up of the entire system, potentially including early warning sensors that could alert us to Vectrian approach. Kyrie nodded approval. "Do it." Ria closed her eyes, her luminescent patterns shifting to a specific rhythmic sequence as she projected her bioelectric signature toward the distant beacon. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then the sensor display registered a surge of energy from the beacon's location. "Activation successful," she confirmed. "The beacon is now transmitting recognition signals to the next layer of defenses. We should proceed directly to these coordinates." She indicated a specific point on the navigational display. "That's the primary approach vector to Ori Valor, where the defensive systems will create a safe passage through the final radiation barriers." As they adjusted course according to Ria's directions, the nebula began to thin slightly, allowing glimpses of what lay beyond. Occasional breaks in the cosmic mist revealed a distant star, dimmer and redder than it must have been in its prime, but still providing light and energy to the system it anchored. "That's the Valor Star," Ria explained when it became visible on the main viewer. "Once a bright yellow star similar to your soul, now an extended late-phase transition. It's why our ancestors eventually abandoned the homeworld. The increasing radiation made surface dwelling impossible. But the subterranean complexes remained habitable." Kyrie asked. "Yes, they were designed to withstand the star's transition phase, with multiple redundant systems for energy generation, atmosphere processing, and radiation shielding." Her expression grew distant, contemplative. "No Ori has set foot there in over 4 generations. What we'll find is uncertain." 20 hours later, they finally emerged from the nebula's inner boundary into the Valor system proper. The red dwarf star dominated the center of the system, surrounded by 3 planets in stable orbits. The second planet, a medium-sized terrestrial world with swirling atmospheric patterns of amber and crimson, was immediately identifiable as their destination. Ori Valor, Elder Nereidus confirmed via communication from his vessel. "The cradle of our civilization." As they approached the planet, evidence of the ancient Ori civilization became increasingly apparent. Orbital platforms, some still operational, others dormant or damaged, created a network around the world. Massive environmental shields were visible in the upper atmosphere, designed to filter the star's harmful radiation while allowing useful energy to reach the surface. "Life signs?" Kyrie inquired as they established. "Standard orbit." Lieutenant Marin shook his head. "None detected on surface scans. If there are habitable areas, they must be shielded from external sensors. The primary access point to the subterranean complexes is located here." Ria indicated a region near the planet's equator. "It's designed to recognize and admit those with Ori bioelectric signatures." Kyrie studied the tactical situation carefully. They had successfully reached Ori Valor ahead of Vectrian pursuit, but the question remained: how long before Admiral Zoroth's forces found their way through or around the nebula barriers? We need to establish our position quickly, he decided. Prepare a landing team. Rhea, Elder Narratus, and representatives from both our crews will make initial contact with the automated systems. If the subterranean complexes are viable, we'll begin transferring personnel and essential supplies immediately. Officer Voss approached with a security concern. Captain, we should consider the possibility of automated defenses targeting non-Ori biosignatures. We have no way of knowing how the ancient systems might react to humans. It was a valid point. Rhea, can you ensure safe passage for mixed species teams? She nodded confidently. Yes. As a resonator, I can override security protocols, designate humans as authorized visitors. The systems were designed to be adaptable. Our ancestors maintained diplomatic relations with several non-Ori species. Within hours, the landing team was assembled and ready for deployment. The shuttle, one of two remaining on the Solar Vanguard, had been modified with Ori stealth technology to minimize its energy signature during descent, reducing the risk of detection if Vecrean forces had somehow managed to enter the system undetected. As Kyrie prepared to lead the mission personally, Lieutenant Marin made a final system-wide scan from orbit. All clear, Captain. No sign of Vecrean vessels within sensor range. The ancient defense network appears to be reactivating gradually, as Rhea predicted. We're registering energy signatures from at least 3 orbital platforms now. Good. Kyrie turned to the assembled team. Rhea and Elder Narratus representing the Ori, along with Officer Voss, Dr. Sadi, and 3 security personnel from the Vanguard. Our objective is to assess the viability of the subterranean facilities and activate any defensive systems that might help protect us from Vecrean pursuit. We move quickly, stay together, and maintain constant communication with the ships in orbit. The descent through Ori Valor's atmosphere was turbulent but manageable. The planet's surface, visible through the shuttle viewports, presented a harsh landscape. Once fertile plains now scorched by radiation, ancient city ruins partially buried under centuries of dust storms. Yet there was a haunting beauty to it as well, particularly in the towering crystal formations that caught and refracted the red dwarf's light in spectacular prismatic displays. Those crystal spires were once living structures, Rhea explained as they passed over a particularly dramatic formation, bioengineered to grow and adapt to changing conditions. Some still respond to energy fields, even after all this time. They landed near what appeared to be a massive circular platform set into the rocky terrain, its surface inscribed with intricate patterns similar to the luminescent markings on Ori skin. As they disembarked, the team immediately activated their radiation shields. The surface environment, while not immediately lethal, was hazardous for extended exposure. Rhea approached the platform, kneeling to place her hands directly against its surface. Immediately, her luminescent patterns synchronized with the inscribed designs, which began to glow in response. "It recognizes me," she said, wonder in her voice. The systems are dormant but intact. The platform's illumination intensified, spreading outward from Rhea's touch in concentric rings. A seam appeared in the center, widening into a circular aperture that revealed a descending spiral pathway illuminated by the same bioluminescent technology. The primary access point, Elder Narratus confirmed. It responds to resonator activation, as the ancient text described. Kyrie signaled the team forward, weapon ready despite Rhea's assurances about the automated security. Maintain alert status. We don't know what we'll encounter below. The descent took them deep below the planet's radiation-scarred surface, the spiral pathway eventually opening into a vast chamber that left the entire team speechless with awe. It was enormous, easily a kilometer across and nearly as high, its curved ceiling inlaid with bioluminescent patterns that mimicked a star field. The chamber's walls were lined with structures that appeared to be a blend of technology and organic growth, pulsing gently with the same luminescence as Ori skin markings. Most impressive was the central feature, a massive crystalline formation that rose from the chamber floor, branching outward like a tree of light.